Jesus says in Luke 19:40, I tell you, if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. And now in Myanmar, the ground is crying out. On March 30th, 2025, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar. It wasn't just a tremor, it was a shaking. Buildings collapsed, fear spread. Over 1,600 lives were lost there and in Thailand. Many are wondering why now and why here, but the answer's already been written. This isn't about weather patterns or fault lines. This is spiritual, and it always has been. The land itself groans when righteousness is rejected. The ground quakes under the weight of sin. Romans 8:22 says the whole creation groans and labors with birth pains together until now. Myanmar has a long and brutal history of persecuting the church. For decades, Christians, especially in the Chin, Kachin, and Kaya states, have been attacked, silenced, and driven from their homes. The military regime has bombed churches, burned Bibles, and killed pastors. Entire villages have been leveled simply because the people followed Jesus. And this persecution didn't start yesterday. Myanmar has for generations oppressed ethnic minorities, banned religious freedoms, and resisted the gospel of peace. While Buddhist nationalism rules, Christ is cast out. But God is not mocked. Galatians 6:7 says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. The earthquake is not God's random wrath. It is the literal fruit of rebellion. God himself doesn't need to lift a finger when the law of reaping and sowing is always at work. It affects us individually and as nations, and even unto the very land itself, because God has created it too. This law of sowing and reaping, what is sown in darkness, it grows in destruction. Just as the wildfires in LA scorched the earth after generations of moral decay and open rebellion, not because God hates California or LA, but because when sin is sown, death always follows. Jesus Christ did not justify sin. He justified those who believe. Romans 6:23 says the wages of sin is death, not just spiritual death, emotional, relational, societal, even environmental. Sin poisons everything. It breaks down what God intended to be whole. This is true for nations, and it's true for individuals. When a people turn from Jesus, when they mock his name and kill his followers, ban his word, they invite chaos, not because God is cruel, but because they've chosen to walk without him. And there is no life apart from Christ. He holds all things together, and without him, things fall apart. But the Lord hasn't left us without hope. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. God still desires mercy over judgment. If the people of Myanmar or any nation would turn to Christ, healing would follow. Not just spiritual healing, but healing of their homes and their families and their land. God is ready. He always has been. Jesus himself warned us that these things would happen. Matthew 24:7, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. Diverse here in the original scriptures can be translated to unlikely. Jesus was telling us that there would be in these times earthquakes, not just in the expected places, but in all places worldwide, unlikely places not known for earthquakes. Myanmar is one of those. LA is another, and of course, many more are to come. The rocks are crying out because the people are silent, but there is still time to repent. There is still time to return to Jesus. The shaking itself is a mercy. It's a chance to wake up. That word keeps coming through, right? Wake up before the final judgment comes. Let the trembling of the very earth remind us that Jesus is the rock that must be praised, or the rocks themselves will cry out in our place.